The Stone Zone, with legendary Republican strategist and political icon and pundit Roger Stone. Stone has served as a senior campaign aide to 3 Republican presidents. He is a New York Times best-selling author and a longtime friend and advisor of President Donald Trump. As an outspoken libertarian, Stone has appeared on thousands of broadcasts, spoken at countless venues, and lectured before the prestigious Oxford Political Union and the Cambridge Union Society. Due to his 4+ decades in the political and cultural arena, Stone has become a pop culture icon. And now, here's your host, Roger Stone.
Welcome, I'm Roger Stone, and yes, you're right back in the Stone Zone. Today I've got a very special guest, someone who's been a friend of mine for a long time, but more importantly, I think is President Donald Trump's single most effective advocate. She's tireless. She's deeply dedicated to the America First cause. She is, of course, the host of the Kimberly Guilfoyle right here on Rumble. But interestingly enough, she herself was a prosecuting attorney in San Francisco and Los Angeles counties. She was an assistant district attorney in San Francisco from 2000 to 2004, where she famously gave her summations without a note, and she never lost a case. Kimberly Guilfoyle, welcome to the Stone Zone.
All right. Thank you so much, Roger. Pleasure to be back on the show with you. Really exciting times, lots of things going on right now. So I'm excited and I feel pretty optimistic about the way things are right now.
I share your optimism. It's a cautious optimism because we're not overconfident. We're not overconfident, but things are moving the right way. Let's start here because I think it's the most interesting thing. Melania Trump, who I've actually known since 1989, has put out an extraordinary video this morning. Let's take a look.
The attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible, distressing experience. Now, the silence around it feels heavy. I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth.
There you have it, former First Lady Melania Trump saying what a bunch of gutless politicians won't say. Extraordinarily effective. I'm disturbed by the fact that the deeper we look into what happened in Butler, the more questions we have and the fewer answers we seem to have. Kimberly, what are your thoughts on this?
I really do. We were talking about this, Don and I, last night, that, still so few answers. How is this? And we're talking with our CEO who came to visit us of Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky. How is it that we don't have more answers? How is it that this isn't like the lead story internationally, still ongoing until we actually get some facts, some specifics? There is some accountability about what transpired. I know you and I have talked about it on previous shows, Roger. It's very unsettling. It makes me feel, anxious, with trepidation about the safety of the president. And you were so nice when you said, please, we need to pray for him and pray for his safety, because this is exactly what, if you ask me, what I'm most worried about is his well-being, the lack of any ability to me that's been demonstrated to protect the president, to keep him safe and secure, and quite frankly, the people around him. Let's not forget that a life was lost, a life was taken on that day. And anyone who tries to diminish the assassination attempt on a former president should really let that soak in about what it means to hit that young man's family and what happened that day. I get so frustrated when I hear them talk about a bullet grazing his ear. Like, that's not what happened. Through the grace and divine providence of our Savior Jesus Christ, the president's life wasn't taken, and for his instincts. But guess what? It could have ended very differently because it was an assassination attempt. And how is it that the young man, has no social media presence, no footprint, wasn't on Rumble, wasn't on anything, etc. All of a sudden, out of thin air, is some radicalized person that decides he's going to go and try to murder, the former president. None of it makes sense. They had the advance information. They had actual precipient witnesses that saw what was going on, that the man was climbing to the roof of the building, that he was up there. There's video of him walking around the event, and it's just unacceptable. So I sit there, and I go to bed at night and in the morning, and I pray for his safety. That's what I'm really most worried about, because we have seen that these people are beyond treacherous. They're evil personified, and that they will do absolutely anything to hold on to power and to prevent Donald Trump from getting back in the White House. They have tried everything, Roger. I mean, look at all the investigations, look at all the indictments. Another one just came down the other day. Nobody, is found guilty on all counts like that. It's just, the whole thing is ridiculous. And let's put the big footprint at the top of the page on that. Who's innocent? So, those are my concerns as a God-fearing, law-abiding American who loves her country, who loves our president, who wants him to be safe. And I, quite frankly, want all, presidents and elected officials to be safe. Assassination is a terrible, terrible thing. And, we've got a very contentious election up against some very seriously, evil people who will do whatever it takes to hold on to their power. So you just have to know, pay attention to what they've done in the past, so you clearly understand what they're capable of and what they intend for the future.
Boy, you and I could not agree more on this. I thought it was very interesting and significant when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. basically formed a political alliance with President Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, J.D. Vance, and the entire America First movement, with a priority to prevent war, which this administration seems to be intent on driving us into, ending the internet censorship. This is where Chris Pavlovsky is a hero here on Rumble.
Yes.
I worry about them trying to legally harass him, as they did the guy who developed Telegram. And then lastly, help us clean up the food that we're eating to stop poisoning the American people. But the president specifically said that if elected, he would appoint RFK to head a commission to study, now this is key, presidential assassination attempts. Notice he said attempts. That means that we could actually get to the bottom of who killed John F. Kennedy. I've written a New York Times bestselling book on it. Who really killed Senator Robert Kennedy? Who really tried to kill Ronald Reagan? That entire story has not yet been told. I saw the Reagan movie last night. I had laryngitis because I did so many shows yesterday, but I took my wife to the movie and we both cried at the end of it.
I want to see it. So now, now you're going to do the movie reviews. I like this.
Yeah, it's powerful movie making. It's really, really good. There's a few things in there since I was there that historically not quite exactly accurate, but overall it's an excellent film. But the idea of RFK heading a commission to get to the bottom of all those assassinations, not to mention the attempted assassination on Donald Trump, because it's very clear that we're not, as it was with Kennedy, we're not going to get the answer from the Secret Service. We're not going to get the answer from the FBI. In fact, they closed their investigation at the FBI. They said that this guy, Thomas Matthew Crooks, he's the shooter. He acted alone. That's it. Nothing else to see, folks. So we can't break into his cell phone. We're not able to get into his encrypted apps. You're the FBI. You can't get into an encrypted app. They got into Paul Manafort's encrypted app with no problem whatsoever when they wanted to prosecute him. So it's very, very deeply, deeply disturbing. And let's face it, after tonight, in which I think the president is going to triumph over the empty vessel that is Kamala Harris, they're going to get even more desperate and more hysterical and therefore more dangerous. You were an assistant district attorney. You prosecuted some very bad people in California. You had an incredible conviction record. I think that people need to focus more on the totality of Kamala Harris's record. It's not just the fact that she's trying to walk away from the last 3+ years, where before she wanted to be viewed as a full partner with Joe. I was the last person in the room when we made the Afghanistan decision. That's not a plus. But I think people need to look at her entire record. What do you think?
I think they absolutely do. And, I know her for God knows how many years. I don't want to age myself, but, I really know not only, yes, the measure of the man, Donald Trump, but the lack of measure the empty vessel that is Kamala Harris. And there was somebody who, rose to power very quickly in succession, everything handed to her. Obviously, she's a lucky person. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's ridiculous. I've never seen somebody with such a lack of ability or experience rise to the positions of power like she did. I know Willie Brown was in large measure responsible for that, as he has admitted. But this is someone with very little prosecutorial experience. If you go all the way back to the Alameda County DA's office, 4 or 5 cases of insignificance. Same thing with the San Francisco District Attorney's office. Then she went over to the city attorney's office. And every single election, every single position, it's been much like what you just saw, not having to do any real campaigning or any real fight. It's just, this is a, disturbed person. She just is super power hungry. She's really reflective of the lack of any kind of core competency in the swamp, people who want to be professional politicians, people who are really just drawn to sort of the power grid, right, of politics, of wanting to be a part of it, about wanting to control people's lives, about wanting to tell them what to think, how to live, who they should vote for, who they should support, and a real political chameleon that just changes, with the wind. Whatever is politically expedient, whatever is going to help, her position, her cause, her advancement in politics, she will take. That's it. She'll just do it and she'll pivot. So she has been very successful at doing that. But then again, I tell people, don't underestimate her just because you don't feel she's intelligent or anything like that. Somehow, Roger, and you've seen this historically, there are certain people that manage to get ahead and to propel themselves forward without any, ability, skill set, talent, intelligence, integrity, moral character, ethics, and they get to positions of power where they can wield a tremendous amount of influence and hurt a lot of good people. And that's why she has to be stopped on election day. And I hope the beginning of that, the end of that political chapter, starts tonight with President Trump in the debate against Kamala Harris.
I couldn't agree with you more. What people don't understand about Donald Trump is that he's a force of nature.
Yes.
He's not a politician. He will never be a politician. He's the leader of a political movement, maybe the most significant political reform movement in American history. But politicians are phony. There's nothing phony about Donald Trump. He's genuine. He's authentic. So he doesn't do these setups where they bring in somebody to play Kamala Harris and they have a bunch of other people pose as reporters and fire. It's not his style. He asks some questions. He asks for some material to study. He gets opinions from a lot of people. But at the end of the day, the reason he was a great president, the reason he was a great presidential candidate is because he's his own man. Nobody's propping him up. Nobody's coaching him. Nobody's scripting him. Nobody is.
Good luck if you try to, right?
Nobody's handling him. But that's why he got elected. People could see how authentic he was. I like to say, he's not always eloquent, but he's always articulate. You always know exactly where he stands. It's amazing how many press interviews, how many press appearances both he and J.D. Vance have done since our convention. And where's Kamala? She's hiding. And the press, the media, they should be outraged about that. They're the ones who should be outraged about it, but you hear nothing from them. This clip yesterday where you saw the vice president and her husband on a walk, and reporters are shouting questions at her, and she doesn't even answer those questions. She doesn't answer any questions. Reporters I do know have told me that when her plane lands, between the time she's on the plane and she gets to the car, they usually have what's called a press pool that covers her. She won't answer questions then either. She just waves and gets in the car. I don't think you can hide from the American people. I think they have to feel like they know you. And they know Donald Trump. They're going to know him even better tonight. So let's handicap this a little bit, because you do have the championship debater of all time. He took on 16 far more experienced politicians for the nomination, and he vanquished them. And I know how much time he spent preparing in the traditional way. That would be none, because he's a natural. How do you think this will go down tonight?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, he's sort of been preparing his whole life, right? His whole life and all the chapters in it are really what make him a great debater. It's like you've either got it or you don't. And I think with him is that he doesn't like to sort of over prepare. He's got it up here. He wants to be Trump. When you let him be Trump, great. The biggest thing people have said to him is, hey, don't take the bait so she can boss lady him with like, oh, I'm speaking and do all that nonsense that she does. Faux outrage. I think he's going to do very good, very well against her. I think he does better when he goes in and he's a little bit like, feeling good, loose, relaxed, not like, being peppered by people or overcoached or, dominated by, oh, you should do this, you should say this, you should do that. You've got to let a star be a star. You got to let them vibe, feel themselves, get in there, be in the zone, right? Because that's what's going to put forth the best emotion and energy and human connection with the audience where you feel like you know him. And, as for Kamala, I want to say this, Roger, yeah, the press is giving her a complete pass, okay? But that's not going to change. So we have to be realistic. But I want to tell you something. She's not stupid. It's like Joe Biden. Joe Biden, remember Sleepy Joe? Joe's hiding in his basement because he doesn't want to answer any questions because he can't answer them. He's not Donald Trump. He's not transparent. He's not talented. And neither is she. She is not good. She pivots to talking about Starbucks lids and, instead they're going to change the lid. Maybe they should change the cover of the lid. Get my red lipstick on there. And you're just like, what an idiot. This is the person that is running against the most important transformative president that this country has seen. Like, this is President Trump's opponent. So yes, she's going to hide. She's going to bend, duck, and cover, okay, like an earthquake drill to make sure that no one asks her a question she can't answer. I know in terms of handicapping it that they're very worried about, tonight because she's not a good debater and Donald Trump is. So they're already saying, and if you see her deputy principal, campaign manager, they're all out there, okay, trying to, under promise in case she might deliver at all to say, well, he's a skilled debater. He's done all these debates. He's probably the number one president that's in the most debates in presidential history. Okay, fact check, true. But that's what they're doing. You've seen this, Roger. That's why, because they're worried about what could happen. And then they've laid it out because that's what you do from a press perspective. You preempt it. That's the smart thing to do. And for her, the smart thing to do is to hide. Because if she answers questions poorly, which she does, and she gets caught off guard, which she does, it's going to be very bad for her. So, I'm bummed about it, but I'm realistic. If I were her campaign manager, I'd be like, hide, do what you can, pretend you can't hear. Reagan would go like that to the questions sometimes, to the reporters, like, oh, with the helicopter. But when they were trying to hate on him, that's kind of her playbook right now. And I don't know what can kind of change it. But look, she can't avoid the debate. She tried to change all of the different rules because she didn't like them from when the vice presidential debate she's supposed to do, against Vance. To now she's, in the hot seat up against Trump. So let's see. She wanted to say seated. She didn't want the microphone muted, but before she did, I mean, let's see what's up. Like I said, I just want Trump rested, happy, fired up and just let it rip and let him shine with that, kind of that chemistry, that star power that he has, that charisma, because it jumps through the screen. It's very clear that one's an empty suit and one is a leader and a kingmaker and someone of significance, not just in this country, but internationally respected and feared. That's the guy I want.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. First of all, they are playing the traditional game of trying to downplay her expectation levels, make them as low as possible, try to increase Trump's expectation levels. I don't think that will work, but that's what they're trying to do. Interestingly enough, in watching the Reagan movie last night, there was a key point because people may not remember, but in his first debate while running for re-election with Walter Mondale, many people believe he came off second best. And there's a scene where they're trying to prep Reagan. They're trying to cram statistics and numbers. It's not working. It didn't work. And finally, Nancy Reagan turns to his advisors and says, look, just let Reagan be Reagan. Just let him be himself. This is the key to this debate. Here's the thing about Donald Trump. I've never seen the guy nervous in my entire life. I mean, this guy, he thrives on stress. He never gets shook. He's been through some extraordinary experiences. They've tried to lock him up. They've tried to bankrupt him. They've tried to kill him. He went through horrific business problems because of the economy. His business went down when everyone's business went down. That's because of the policies of Jimmy Carter. But even then, he really is a man of steel. I mean, you can say anything you want about him. I've never seen him afraid. He's not afraid of anything or anybody. And he has this aura of confidence that I think inspires the country. See, that's what people want in their president. They want a president who knows who he is and knows where he wants to take the country. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's him. I mean, I'm smiling and agreeing with you because that is him. You nailed it. Like that really sums up Donald Trump so eloquently. And, he is not somebody who is breakable. He's unbreakable. He's fearless. He's unstoppable. And I talked about a bunch of these things in a documentary that's being made about him. But, you just see it. And he's savage. The guy is a serious beast. Like we've seen him when, family goes in, talks to him, et cetera, before the debates, all of the above. And just he's funny. He puts everyone at ease and he's like ready to go. It does not matter who's interviewing him, whether he's doing an interview on CNN, whether he's doing a town hall, Fox News or Sean Hannity, whether he's doing a debate against Biden, against Kamala Harris. It just doesn't matter. Against 16 very qualified Republican primary candidates. He just eats it. He eats it up. But that's based on his life experience and who he is. And it's just always been Trump. Like, him, for so many years like you do. And, I know him and it's just quintessential. And that's how he is. And it started way back, as you know, before politics, because he isn't a politician. He's a disruptor. Disruptors tend to be fearless people who are going to be unshakable, that aren't going to be thrown, off guard. He's not afraid of Kamala Harris. I mean, I honest to God don't know the person that President Trump is even afraid of. I've never seen him show any kind of like stress or anxiety or concern or worry in a way that it wasn't mean like on top of it. Doesn't mean that he doesn't take it seriously. Please understand the difference. It's that he handles it. And that's really impressive because we have seen him tested in ways unimaginable in terms of all of these, indictments and the warfare against him and the weaponization of our justice, institutions. It's just, it's something that anybody else, you wouldn't get out of bed. You wouldn't even know what to do because it's so brutal. And I think, very seriously about that true grit, about that toughness, about what it takes. Because you have gone through this yourself, my friend, where they have come after you in ways unimaginable, where they have leaked to the press while they were going to your house, early morning. And when, God bless your poor wife had cancer, all of the above. These people are just merciless and ruthless and without any moral compass. And they've tried to break him and they have been unsuccessful. And the clock is ticking down. 50 some days left and America will have its answer and hopefully truly the commander in chief that she so richly deserves.
All right, before we lose you here, because I know how busy you are today and we're very grateful for your time as always, I want to talk about J.D. Vance. See, I think that he's getting a bum rap. I think the left-wing media attack on him is because they're afraid of him. They're afraid of him because he's smart as hell, because he's hardworking, because he, unlike Kamala Harris, he's not afraid to take questions. He knows where he stands. He's 100% America first. He was the right choice. And that's going to come out in this campaign. There's going to be a defining moment, probably in the debate with the Governor Tim Walz, but if not elsewhere on the campaign trail. They don't like him because it's elitism. It's born of elitism. This is a guy who fought for and earned everything he's ever had. They criticize him for going to Yale. Wait a minute, hold on. How many members of the Biden cabinet went to Yale? Didn't Susan Rice go to Yale, for example? It's snobbery. No, he was not a legacy student at Yale. He earned his way. I think he gets a bum rap. He's working very hard. he's very effective on the stump. How do you feel about J.D. Vance and how he's doing?
I really like JD Vance. He's a really good guy. You know, I mean, I don't think of him as a politician either. I think of him as a fighter and someone who embodies, you know, the American dream, who really set his mind to accomplish things. I really don't like when people try to take it away from him when he has worked so hard, nothing's been handed to him. He's elegant and he's charming and nice, and he's a great father and a great husband to his wife. He's loyal, he's faithful, he's somebody who is really trustworthy. Like I very much trust that he will do an exceptional job as Vice President of the United States, that he will do whatever it takes, that he will work tirelessly. And he's not somebody that has like these fragmented edges that you have to worry about. He's highly capable individual. You know, they try to hang him on the whole cat thing. Meanwhile, no one cares that all these illegal immigrants are coming in. And then we see this one's eating a cat and then they're shooting a bald eagle. Sorry, just check the news. This is what you deal with in this country. And you're right, it smacks of elitism. It's very unfair. The alleged party of inclusion, the Democrats and the liberals, are really the party of exclusion and elitism and arrogance. And this is and weaponization, quite frankly. And so they will do whatever it takes to try to destroy someone. They're trying to do it, but I think he's shining. He's doing an incredible job out on the campaign trail, and people really like him. The more you get to know him and spend time with him, there is such a nice, comfortable, kind of easy way and manner about him. But inside is all the intelligence and the work ethic and the heart and the passion and the loyalty and the trustworthiness. He's somebody that you can really rely on. And I think he's the exact perfect type of, you know, vice president for President Trump and for this country. If you were picking him just on his own without thinking about who the president is, he's an excellent choice. If you're picking him to be someone who is the running mate and going to be by President Trump's side, unflappable, he's the perfect choice. And like you said, I think his moment will come, whether it's, you know, in the debate, although that's not going to be much of a heavy lift with that Mike Wilson, the worst VP pick of all time. Honestly, I think he is the worst. I'm not even joking. And abysmal failure. Yeah. They missed the mark there. And we hit it, you know, dead on with JD Vance. So let's see where all this goes. I think it's going to be really incredible to see the debate tonight. That I look forward to JD Vance making mincemeat of Waltz, and you know, we'll go from there. I think it's you know, we just have to like not let our foot up off the gas. Don't take any of this for granted, because you and I both know what these people are capable of.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. I want to thank my friend Kimberly Guilfoyle. He's, of course, the host of the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show right here on Rumble, one of the greatest free speech platforms in the country, one of the few where you can get the unvarnished truth. Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us today. God bless you. We'll be joining you in prayer for the safety of the president. And tonight's going to be fascinating. I look forward to comparing notes with you after this historic.
I agree. Text me tonight, okay?
God bless you.
All right. Take care. God bless, Roger. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Folks, do you owe back taxes? My wife and I owe an enormous amount in back taxes, but unlike Hunter Biden, it's not because we failed to report every penny of income, or not because we failed to report all of our relatively meager assets. We owe taxes simply because we were virtually bankrupted by the Mueller investigation. Fortunately, we've reached a settlement with the IRS. I have to pay enormous penalties and interest. But if you owe back taxes, you should recognize that the pandemic relief program of the IRS is now over. They've hired thousands of new agents and field offices. The IRS came into 2024 sending out 5 million pay up notices to those who have unfiled tax returns or balances owed. My advice to you is to use a tax professional. Don't waive your rights. Don't speak to them on your own behalf. You need to use a tax professional. The folks at the IRS are not your friends. I recommend the Tax Network USA. They're a trusted tax relief firm. They've saved other people billions of dollars in back taxes for their clients, and they can help secure you the best deal possible. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, I believe they can help you, whether it's business taxes or personal taxes. If you have the means to pay today, or you are on a fixed income and you have to pay over time, they can help you finally resolve all of your tax burdens once and for all. So check them out. You can go to 1-800-958-1000, and they will give you a private free consultation to talk to you about your tax situation. Or you can go to tnusa.com/stone. That's tnusa.com/stone. They are the tax professionals you need. Highly recommend them to you. The Democrats have spent an enormous amount of time trying to persuade people that something called Project 2025, which is the product of a conservative think tank in Washington, D.C., the Heritage Foundation, is Donald Trump's platform. And while it is fair to say that a number of people who have worked for President Trump were involved in the formulation of that set of policy statements, that's not the president's platform. If you want to see what the president will do, then look at his Agenda 47, the agenda that was adopted in the platform of the Republican National Committee. The Democrats have spent millions of dollars trying to fool people into believing that the Project 2025 is the Trump agenda. Not so. Take a look at this.
The breaking news is Trump has nothing to do with Project 2025. Sure, a lot of us have worked in the admin and came together, but this started long before he even announced for president.
I'll give you a perfect example. 2025, the Agenda 2025, includes a proposal to delay the date before one can get their Social Security benefits. So in other words, you'd have to be older to begin getting your benefits, and would provide means testing. That means the IRS looks at whether you have outside income beyond your Social Security payments. And if you do, well, then they adjust your Social Security payments. In other words, they cut Social Security. President Donald Trump, since the time he got into politics, has always maintained that he opposes any changes in the program, and particularly opposes any cuts in the program. Yet the Democrats spend millions of dollars lying about it. There are other instances of this. For example, Donald Trump will sign a federal abortion ban. No, that's not his position. He's made it very clear that it's a states' rights issue. And it was Donald Trump who appointed the Supreme Court justices that properly sent this back to the states. The Democrats try to make this sound nefarious. Trump handpicked these jurists, and they've been planning this for years. Yeah, every president handpicks his appointments to the Supreme Court. And when they all share the same judicial philosophy on a specific issue, that's in line with the way the system works. I don't recall any Democrat presidents other than John Kennedy appointing any conservatives to the Supreme Court. So it's another example of distortion. This administration wants to evade all responsibility for the tragic events in Afghanistan. The entire flap that they created regarding Arlington Cemetery, which is an egregious fraud, backfired badly. They rolled out John McCain's son, Jim, to attack Trump for politicizing the appearance at the Arlington Cemetery, leaving out the fact that President Trump was there at the specific invitation of the 13 families of those who lost loved ones in Afghanistan, that he had met with them previously at Mar-a-Lago and bonded with them, spent hours with them. But even worse, John McCain himself filmed a campaign ad for his presidential campaign at Arlington Cemetery. Not only that, but his daughter, Meghan McCain, used a photo of her father's tombstone at Arlington Cemetery to promote the sale of her book. The hypocrisy here is knee-deep. Let's look at the State Department spokesman trying to evade responsibility for the horrific decision that left not only 13 Americans dead, but literally billions of dollars of the most sophisticated military equipment in the world in the hands of our enemies.
Was anyone ever held accountable by the president directly for what happened with the withdrawal in Afghanistan? And if not, remind the audience why not.
We have all held ourselves accountable for the progress of the withdrawal across the administration, and it was a true interagency effort to get those 120,000 people out and to make sure we removed our diplomats and our military personnel safely. As I said, Ed, not everything went according to plan. Nothing ever does.
Really? Holding people accountable means that people were fired, or people were demoted, or people were penalized. And in fact, they did not get American citizens out. That's why 13 members of our military gave their lives. Here's Pete Buttigieg. He's another one who is trying to do a CYA on the Afghanistan disaster.
Tomorrow, we expect the House Foreign Affairs Committee to release the findings of its 3-year investigation into what happened. How does Kamala Harris defend what we all saw?
First of all, of course, I haven't seen what's in the report coming out tomorrow, but I do have a question about what they're doing over there. If they've had 3 years to assess what happened, why are they delivering a report after Labor Day in a presidential election year? I think it really feeds into a sense that this is something they're using as a political football.
Wait a minute. It was Kamala Harris who said that she was the last person in the room when this decision was made. So while she spends most of her time trying to run away from her involvement in the Biden-Harris administration, this is one where she stepped right up and said she was involved in this disastrous decision. Just a perfect example of the way the mainstream media covers for them. When the Republicans in the House try to get the facts in front of the American people, well, they're acting politically. But when the administration does that, well, that's a public service. The Trump campaign is up with an extraordinarily effective new ad. Let's take a look at that.
We should be doing everything we can to make it more affordable to buy a home.
A just-released housing index reveals just how rough the market is, especially for first-time home buyers. It showed home prices for the nation's top 20 metro areas rose 5.4% from June of last year to June of this year, a record jump for that month.
The average home buyer needs to make over $110,000 to afford the average home. Home buyers only needed to make $76,000 back in 2020.
Mortgage rates are now at their highest level in 21 years.
86% of U.S. renters would like to buy, but they can't. That really speaks to a lot of pessimism here about the American dream, how it feels like it's out of reach. Home ownership remains the ticket to wealth generation. So this is just widening the gap between the haves and the have-nots.
She stands there and says on day one, she's going to tackle the housing affordability crisis in our country.
But day one for Kamala was 3.5 years ago.
What the hell have you been doing for all that time?
A very, very effective ad. I have a source in Pennsylvania tells me that a poll that was conducted for a statewide Democrat office holder shows that Kamala Harris's lead there has slipped from 3 to 1. And that President Trump is making great strides in the counties outside of Philadelphia, where Joe Biden won solidly last time. That is all based, I think, on economic issues. That's the important thing to remember about tonight's debate. If you go back and you look at the debate he had with President Joe Biden, you will see that he ignored Biden's feeble attempts to try to bait him into side conversations, and he stayed focused on the big picture: inflation, gasoline prices, the influx of immigrants at our border, and the fentanyl crisis, a crime crisis, and fiscal crisis that has brought us. I expect that's what he'll do tonight. I don't think that Kamala Harris will be able to bait him. I don't think that they will be able to get him off message. The amazing thing is that he really thrives in this kind of high pressure atmosphere. And I'm absolutely convinced that the person who must be nervous tonight, the one who's popping Xanax and drinking vodka, well, that would be Kamala Harris. The fact that she's a fraud, well, here's a member of her own party, Bernie Sanders, probably the most radical left member of their party. But when he's asked about Kamala Harris, take a look at what he says.
Described Vice President Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for all. Now she does not. She's previously supported a ban on fracking. Now she does not. These, Senator, are ideas that you have campaigned on. Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election. My own view is slightly different. I think that in America today there are a lot of people, rural people, working class people, who no longer believe that the United States Congress and government represents their interests, too dominated by big money interests. So I think that there is something wrong personally when we are the only.
There you have it. So Bernie Sanders, who at one time I actually respected as a principled socialist. I thought he was wrong, but I thought he actually believed the things he says. He's essentially telling you that she's just as much of a radical extremist as he is, but she's hiding it for the purposes of getting elected. That would explain the shocking announcement she made today about protecting the status in this country of what appear to be hundreds of thousands of illegal Haitians who are in the country. By the way, I said on yesterday's show that when I returned from a 3-day trip to New York, well, my cat was missing. Now, that never happens. Someone came in to feed and water my cat and make sure that she was fine. But my wife and I were concerned when I got back from New York and she hadn't seen the cat for several days. I began to wonder whether maybe she had been some Haitian's dinner or lunch. It's a disturbing thought. There are those in the fake news media who say that these Haitian immigrants don't eat animals. That's a lie. You can go on social media and see it happening all over the place, as President Donald Trump would say. Take a look at Kamala Harris on the issue of illegals.
That is why, also, starting with our administration, we gave TPS, temporary protected status, to Haitian migrants, 55,000. And then more recently, we extended temporary protected status to over 100,000 Haitian migrants for that very reason, that they need support, they need protection.
There you have it. I mean, I think you see the real Kamala Harris. Tonight, she's going to try in the debate to pose as a moderate. That's not going to work because her real record is different. She wants you to forget the Kamala Harris who wanted to defund the police. She wants you to forget the Kamala Harris who wanted to make coming into the country, which is currently illegal or without proper documentation, decriminalized. This is the Kamala Harris who proposed that U.S. taxpayers should pay for every penny of health care for the 10 plus people I respect, think it's more like 20 million illegals who are in the country. Think about the cost of that. This, of course, is the Kamala Harris that wanted to do away completely with private health insurance. And then there's fracking. Now, the reason fracking is significant, not only is it an important part of returning America to energy independence, but it is a major issue in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in West Virginia, and in upstate New York, where it provides thousands and thousands of jobs. Also, the technology being used in fracking is much more environmentally safe than it used to be. Yet, because she was running for president as a far left progressive, she was opposed to fracking. She said she would ban it. Now, she says she wouldn't ban it. Which Kamala Harris is it that's running for president? You know, folks, recently, I guess it was yesterday, actually, we had Kash Patel here on the show. If you missed it, I suggest you check it out. You can go to our page on Rumble. But among the things that he said, he's one of the smartest guys I know. He was the chief of staff of the Department of Defense. He was counsel to the House Intelligence Committee. He was also a national security aide to President Donald Trump. He pointed out that our electrical grid, the electrical power grid, is extraordinarily vulnerable. This was driven home to me recently when we had the meltdown of the cellular phone system. Take a look at this.
This is Roger Stone. Remember when AT&T's cell phone outage left millions, including me, stranded without a means to communicate with loved ones, business associates, or even for emergency services? You see, cellular networks are particularly vulnerable, big targets for hackers and terrorists, as well as vulnerable to hurricanes and other natural disasters. So if your cell phone goes down, how will you communicate? That's why I got the Iridium 9555 satellite phone and service. I'm using the proprietary Iridium satellite service. Cell networks only cover about 7% of the Earth, while the Iridium system covers 100% of the Earth. You can call or text from any place you can see the sky. These are trusted by U.S. military and government officials everywhere. All calls are encrypted, safe and secure. No eavesdropping, no hacking. It's the reason the U.S. military uses Iridium phones, and the U.S. Senate uses satellite phones for their secure phone calls. You too can ensure your privacy by using our Iridium proprietary satellite network. Just go to sat123.com/Roger. No tracking and no one can listen to your calls. No one will ever read your text but the person you're sending them to. And more importantly, big tech cannot steal and then sell your data. You can get the Iridium 9555 phone at no cost if you sign up for a plan with a 24-month agreement. A monthly plan is only $95.95, and you get the phone for free. You can get a plan with us for as little as $85.95. And then there are discounted family share plans with up to 3 free phones. Those are also available. The Iridium 9555 satellite phone will work from anywhere on Earth with no exceptions. Oh, and how do you keep your satellite phone charged in the event of an electrical grid shutdown? You're going to want our solar-powered satellite phone recharger. You can get it all by going to sat123.com/Roger. You need to have secure communications. Get your Iridium 9555 phone now.
Folks, I really rely on my Iridium 9555 phone for peace of mind. Yes, it actually works any place you can see the sky. And I reiterate, your phone calls and your text messages are completely encrypted. So go to sat123.com/Roger. That's sat123.com/Roger to look into the Iridium proprietary satellite network and get your free Iridium 9555 phone. All right, let's continue with politics. Here's another reason why I think you can see that the Democrats are apoplectic, hysterical, because they're up to their old tricks. Suddenly, we're being warned about Russian interference in the election. Let's take a look at this video.
Donald Trump's campaign chairman was secretly meeting with Russian intelligence.
Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy.
I think he's guilty because he knows.
What did he do?
Well, he's the one who can answer that. I think.
No, what
knows,
is he? You said he's guilty. What's he guilty of?
Well, I think he feels that there is something that's going to come out about Russia. Remember?
Why are other Americans basically believing Putin? Why did Trump believe Putin more than our 11 intelligence agencies?
I don't know. Do you have a working theory?
I do have a working theory.
That guy Adam Schiff is so full that his eyes are brown. Let's go through his claims one by one. Paul Manafort was meeting secretly and sharing polling information with Russian intelligence assets. Well, that's a lie. First of all, in the time frame claimed by Schiff, The Trump campaign had no proprietary polling information. So any information Manafort would have had at his fingertips would have been public information that you could read online or in the newspaper. Secondarily, the man that he shared it with, a man named Konstantin Kilimnik, is not a Russian intelligence asset. He's actually an American intelligence asset. The independent journalist Matt Taibbi has absolutely documented that, and we've seen that Kilimnik's name is actually redacted from a number of government documents because they didn't want to expose our source in Ukraine. So that's a lie. Then, of course, there's the claim that Roger Stone was in touch with Guccifer 2.0, who was a Russian intelligence asset. Well, that's BS as well. Yes, we had a 28-word exchange on Twitter direct messages, which I myself released in 2017. It includes no evidence whatsoever of sharing information, of collaboration, or coordination. It's innocuous. But more importantly, it took place almost 3 months after the WikiLeaks had already published the DNC and Clinton campaign material. So yet another lie, that one reiterated by Robert Mueller in an op-ed piece in the Washington Post. Then there's the claim that the Democrat National Committee was hacked by Russian intelligence. That's another lie for which there's no evidence or proof whatsoever. You will remember that in the early discovery, in my case, the FBI actually admitted that, well, they had never inspected the computer servers at the DNC. They had left that to a company hired by the DNC called CrowdStrikes. CrowdStrikes had a report on that alleged Russian intelligence intrusion, but that was classified, and the judge denied it to my defense attorneys during my trial. It was ultimately unclassified, declassified, and Sean Henry, who is the head of cybersecurity for CrowdStrikes, testified to the House Intelligence Committee under oath, and in that testimony, he admitted that he had no proof whatsoever that the Russians hacked the DNC. Now, if the judge in my case had allowed Bill Binney, the former counterintelligence IT expert with the CIA, to testify and to produce forensic evidence, well, we could have proved definitively there was never any online hack of the DNC, not by Russian intelligence or anyone else. Then there's the whole question of the multi-million-dollar social media program by a bot farm in Russia. That turns out to be a drop in the bucket. It was more like $40,000, and the messaging was completely ineffective. They were at sometimes pro-Hillary Clinton and anti-Trump. Other times they were anti-Trump and pro-Bernie Sanders. Not very effective, a drop in the bucket. So why are we back to this? It's because they fear, once again, that they're about to lose this election. I look at the polling every day, and it's important to recognize that our polling is volatile. In other words, we have a very close election. Folks, it was always going to be a close election. There's two reasons for that. One, the continued mainstream media domination of communications in this country, in which they bury information detrimental to Harris and Walz, and where they distort anything about Donald Trump. If he jaywalks, they make a story out of it. But even more troubling is the censorship. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, as they did in 2020, is going to be deeply involved pressuring social media and other internet platforms as to what they can and cannot say. Remember the case of the 51 intelligence assets who came forward to say that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation? Well, that turned out to be an egregious lie. Look for more of this. If there's any foreign intelligence interference in our election, it would be far more likely to be coming from the Chinese. But why does the federal government seem to be unconcerned about that? There's a legitimate question for you. Folks, we spoke earlier with Kimberly Guilfoyle, the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show, about the unanswered questions regarding the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Those deeply, deeply disturbed me. We're going to continue to follow up on that. The other thing I want to ask you to do, folks, is to download the Rumble app to your cell phone and follow us, please, at rumble.com/Roger Stone. That's rumble.com/Roger Stone. There is a great opportunity to see our show. You obviously can see it earlier in the day because we're on at 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern at worldviewtube.com. But if you don't catch it there, well, you have a second opportunity to see it at 8 o'clock Eastern time right there on Rumble. So set the notifications, follow us, and set the notifications. Now, let's finish with the most significant development of this political campaign, and that is what I think are the seeds of a political realignment. Robert F. Kennedy has made what I think is an extraordinarily selfless decision to abandon his candidacy, and despite his family's iconic status within the Democrat Party, recognize that the Democrat Party has become the party of war. Let's finish with that video.
Hey, everybody. A lot of people are asking me if they live in a red state or a blue state, should they still be voting for me? What about swing states? The answer is easy, no. No matter what state you live in, you should be voting for Donald Trump. And let me tell you why. That's the only way that we can get me and everything I stand for into Washington, D.C. and fulfill the mission that motivated my campaign. Right now, free speech is under withering and relentless attack in America and across the globe. But at least we still have enough of it here that you can watch this video. We can still run an opposition political campaign. Well, in a lot of countries, you can't do that anymore because the state now controls the media. The state censors the internet. Brazil just banned Twitter because Elon Musk refused to censor user speech. Kamala Harris says that Musk better behave himself or he will, quote, lose his
privileges and it should be taken down. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
She thinks, and the Democratic establishment thinks, that free speech is a privilege. Well, you know and I know that it's a right. And if Kamala Harris is elected, the powers behind her will quash that right. They're already halfway there. It will be too late by 2028. Once we're in the grips of totalitarianism, we're not going to be able to vote our way out of it. This is our last chance to stop them. After long conversations with President Trump and his team and his family, I know that he is fully convinced of this priority. He sees the censorship machine for what it is. Remember, he was kicked off Twitter back in 2021, and he has experienced directly how government agencies are being weaponized to destroy the government's political opponents. He's going to be relying on me to help clean up that corruption, and that's why I'm relying on my supporters like you to help him return to the White House. As you know, this could be a very close election. A disputed election result would be a disaster for our divided nation. President Trump needs to win in a landslide, both in the Electoral College and in the popular vote. He can't do that unless my supporters join him. So look at the big picture. We have to unify. We have to overthrow the entrenched elites who are now ruining our country. So let's get Donald Trump elected on November 5th so that we can restore our Constitution, so that we can revive the middle class, so that we can rescue our democracy, end censorship and surveillance, unravel the war machine, protect children's health, and make America healthy again.
All right, that's it for us today. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Stone Zone. We'll see you tomorrow after the debate, and God bless you.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone. Where's Roger Stone?